Let's be completely honest with each other right now. Nobody expected this. Not the fans, not the analysts, not even the insiders who follow this team every single day. But tonight, after the final out was recorded, Dave Roberts walked up to that microphone and said words that sent shockwaves through the entire league. Pages is gone. Kim Hye-seong is gone. Sheehan is gone. And in their place? 2 starting pitchers worth a combined $200 million. The Dodgers didn't just make a move tonight. They completely rewired their identity heading into the second half. So let's break down exactly what happened, what it means, and why this decision might be either the boldest masterstroke of the season, or the biggest gamble the Dodgers front office has ever made. Let's start with the announcement itself. What exactly did Roberts say after the game, and what was the reaction in that locker room? What was striking wasn't just what Roberts said, it was how he said it. There was no hesitation. No diplomatic softening. He looked directly into the cameras and said the roster was being rebuilt around pitching depth for October. That alone tells you everything. This wasn't a reactive move forced by injury or poor performance. This was a planned, deliberate decision from Andrew Friedman's front office, and Roberts was simply the messenger delivering it to the world. Now, from an insider perspective, this has been building for weeks. The Dodgers have been carrying roster tension around Kim Hye-seong's role since late May. He was optioned to AAA Oklahoma City after his bat went completely cold, hitting just .186 over his last 15 games with 16 strikeouts. Roberts himself said at the time that Kim had lost his legs in his swing. So the writing was already on the wall. The trade tonight wasn't a punishment. It was the front office accepting that this roster configuration wasn't going to work for a World Series three-peat. And what makes this genuinely interesting is that the Dodgers didn't do this from a position of weakness. They're sitting at 49 wins and 26 losses, 9 games clear of the Padres at the top of the NL West. They didn't have to do this. They chose to. Pages was one of the most talked about young outfielders in the National League. Why would the Dodgers move him now? This is the part that stings most for Dodgers fans, because Andy Pages had genuinely earned his place in that lineup. Last season he hit .272 with 27 home runs across 624 plate appearances. He was becoming the kind of player you build around. He was even mentioned as a potential all-star starter alongside Ohtani and Max Muncy. And yet here we are. The reality is that the Dodgers made this calculation a long time ago. Pages had never had his contract extension discussed, not once, according to multiple league sources. The front office had not broached any talks with his representatives at Prime. That is not an accident. That is an organization quietly keeping its options open. When a team with a $600 million payroll doesn't rush to lock up a 25-year-old outfielder coming off a 27-home-run season, it means they already know something the rest of us don't. What they knew was this: Pages becomes the most attractive trade chip they have. He's young, cost-controlled through 2030, proven in the regular season, and he comes at a fraction of the price of a veteran starter. For a team looking to acquire $200 million worth of pitching in one move, Pages is exactly the kind of asset that makes other front offices pick up the phone immediately. From a pure baseball perspective, this is painful to watch. But from a roster construction standpoint, the Dodgers have so much outfield depth coming through their system, Josue De Paula, Zaire Hope, Eduardo Quintero, that losing Pages doesn't leave a hole. It creates one temporarily, and they've already filled it with something they needed more urgently: arms. And what about Sheehan? He was supposed to be a key part of the pitching future. What does his trade say about where the Dodgers are going? Emmet Sheehan's situation is a different story entirely, and I think it reveals a crucial truth about how the Dodgers view their pitching staff right now. Sheehan was on the opening day roster. He had promise. But the Dodgers currently have a pitching situation that is almost unprecedented. Tyler Glasnow is on the injured list, Blake Snell is on the injured list, and the bullpen ERA over the last month ranked 25th in all of baseball. That is not a sustainable position for a team chasing 3 consecutive World Series titles. So what do? You trade the future for the present. You package Sheehan, who represents potential, and use him to acquire the certainty you need right now. That is exactly what was done tonight. The two incoming starting pitchers worth $200 million combined are not projects. They are proven, established, durable arms who can walk into a clubhouse and immediately change the ceiling of this rotation. When Yamamoto and Ohtani are your top two starters and you add two elite arms behind them, you are no longer just a very good team. You become a nightmare for every opposing manager in October. That is what this trade was designed to create. Two players are also reportedly heading into emergency surgery. What do we know, and how does that affect the calculus here? This is the part of tonight's news that deserves more attention than it's getting right now. Two players from the current roster are confirmed to be undergoing emergency procedures, and while the specific nature of those surgeries hasn't been fully disclosed, the timing is not coincidental. It accelerated everything. When your roster is suddenly facing not just the trades but also the loss of two additional contributors, the urgency of the pitching overhaul becomes impossible to ignore. Think about what this means practically. The 13-man pitching staff is now being reconstructed almost entirely. Starters who were in that rotation a week ago are gone. Arms who weren't on the radar 6 months ago are suddenly going to be pitching in Dodger Stadium. For any other team, this level of upheaval in the middle of a pennant race would be catastrophic. For the Dodgers, it is managed chaos, and they are very, very good at managed chaos. Dave Roberts has navigated injury crises before. He's managed rotations where players moved from starter to reliever and back again. He's kept this team at the top of the National League West through a level of roster turnover that would have dismantled lesser organizations. But the difference tonight is the scale. This isn't patching a gap. This is rebuilding the engine while the car is moving at full speed. Stepping back and looking at the big picture, is this the right move for a team trying to win a third consecutive World Series? Here is what I genuinely believe. This trade will be judged entirely on what happens in October. If those two incoming pitchers perform the way their contracts suggest they should, and if the Dodgers navigate the second half with Ohtani healthy and Yamamoto sharp, then tonight will be remembered as the move that made the 3P possible. It will be studied in front offices across the league as a masterclass in aggressive deadline maneuvering. But if those pitchers get hurt, or if the loss of Pages creates offensive holes that the lineup can't absorb, or if the emergency surgeries sideline more contributors than expected, then this will be the night the Dodgers overreached. That is the risk Roberts and Friedman accepted when they walked up to that microphone tonight. What cannot be disputed is the ambition. 35 first-place votes in the MVP mock ballot. The best record in the National League. Ohtani pitching with a sub-1.00 ERA. This team is not playing not to lose. They are playing to make history. And tonight's overhaul of the entire pitching staff is proof that they will not stop pushing until that third championship banner is hanging in Dodger Stadium. The Dodgers didn't blink tonight. Whether that turns out to be brilliance or boldness beyond reason, we are about to find out. That's the complete breakdown of tonight's massive roster announcement. What did you think of Roberts' decision? Were the Dodgers right to trade Pages, Kim Hye-seong, and Sheehan for $200 million worth of pitching? Drop your thoughts below.